Slime. Slime. Do you guys know who Slime is? It's by one Japanese friend. And he got banned from Twitter again. But he hasn't been on Discord for a while. I want to talk to him. I don't know how to contact him. I know that he watches this. So, get on Discord. Want to talk to him. Anyway, right. Yesterday, I spurred out on the Dungeons and Dragons stream. Can you imagine that? Jesus, I spurred out. A lot of people were happy. Some people were upset. I was mentally exhausted and fatigued. I do not like. Usually, I enjoy spurring out for entertainment, because a lot of people think that this is how I act in real life. No, it's entertainment. Like, this is why I'm on YouTube. It's to make people laugh and entertain them. Not to mention, when I spurg out, the super chats are flowing. Therefore, I am doing what I'm supposed to do. So, with that out of the way, yesterday wasn't for entertainment. Yesterday, I actually got annoyed. I do not appreciate when people are dishonest to my face. Usually, I do not enjoy having conversation with leftists, because, like, you can't persuade them and they're disingenuous, right? So I have higher expectations. Like if I actually have a conversation with someone, I expect them to be honest. You know, like, tell me what you really think so we can tackle the subject, and we can see maybe I'm wrong. You know, like, maybe you can persuade me. Or maybe I... So I was talking with Rags about woke games, right? We were talking specifically about what was it? Dead Space, right? Dead Space 1. And I asked Rags, it's like, why do you think, because he doesn't believe the game is woke. And I was like, why do you think they changed the posters? Because the original game had, like, posters in it, and in the remake, they decided, oh, this is a poster with a white man. Well, that's not right. I mean, we can't have posters with white men. That's like, no, it needs to be a black woman, right? So I was asking Rags, why do you think they did that? Like, what was the reasoning? And he was like, I don't know. And that really pissed me off at that point. It's like, really, you don't know. Like, you're a content creator on YouTube. Like, if I asked my wife this question, and she said that she doesn't know, I would agree with her, because she doesn't follow politics. She genuinely doesn't know, right? But Rags, come on, like, you're a movie critic. You've been like, what don't you know? It's like, well, maybe they wanted to have, like, different... fuck off. No. And that's when I lost the plot. I do not like being gaslit into my face like that. The reason they did it is because they hired a consultant to wokeify their game. That's it. That's the reason, right? Now, a lot of people were upset because I didn't let devs speak, right? And I was basically telling Rags is that I'm sick and tired of all these video games giving all the women titty cancer. Like, they nerf every single female character. They nerf their breasts to the point where I now have to masturbate to something else. And it's like, I watch these videos and I masturbate to my voice, because now my voice turns me on. Like, there's nothing else. The only thing left in the world to turn me on is my voice. You know, like, I started being like, okay, if you're going to be disingenuous with it and you don't want to have a serious conversation, then I can make fun of it. And I can have fun as well. But Dev was trying to interrupt, right? Like, Dev was basically trying to explain what is the problem with the posters being changed, right? So, like, in the original game, you have, like, a picture of a scientist, like a white scientist. And in the remake, there's a black woman that's a scientist. So why is that a problem, right? And Dev was explaining. From a liberal perspective, in other words, the way normal humans think, is that race doesn't matter, right? So, like, a poster is, in a video game, it's like an artistic choice. So it doesn't really matter if it's a man, a woman, or like whatever, right? So the original game, like the original artist, decided to put a poster with a white man. And it makes sense, you know, because the game was created by a company run by white people. There were white people on the board, right? It's kind of like in Japan, if they make a Japanese game, they put, like, Japanese people on the posters. In China, they put Chinese people on the posters. And I'm pretty sure, you know, in The Witcher, they put as much polish culture as they can in the video game. Like, it kind of makes sense, right? But the question goes, it's like, why... Like, if race doesn't matter, why did they specifically change that, right? Because they didn't change other things. Like, they don't change symbols and paraphernalia, and, you know, they didn't change the name of the, Unitology Church or the symbol of the Unitology Church. Like they didn't go for those changes. No, like they specifically target the race and the gender of the people on the posters. And as a liberal, you have to ask, like, why did they do that? Like, what motivated them to do so? And this is because of the progressive ideology that they believe that, well, it's a statement. It's a political statement. It's not just a poster that's supposed to give ambiance to the game. It's a political statement. It tries to subvert you. It tries to, like, manipulate you. It tries to subconsciously inject into your brain the idea that actually black women can be scientists as well. And the thing is, like, I as a liberal already know that shit. But seeing that you're trying to social engineer me in entertainment, like seeing that you're trying to think that you're my educator, that you're like trying to steer me as cattle, is something that I find deeply offensive and insulting. Like, your job is not to control how I think. Your job is not to put subliminal messages in my entertainment. Your job is to entertain me, and in exchange you get my cash. If you want to put subliminal messages in my entertainment, make the video game free. Okay? Like, make the video game free, and then it's like a something for humanity, right? For the betterment of humanity. But the reason I'm saying this, there are developers that are coming out, and they're actually saying, yes, we're social engineers. Like, when we create our product, they don't even call it entertainment, it's a product. The purpose of the product is to instill behaviors. So when they put a poster in a video game, it's not just ambiance. It's not just like to create a better immersion experience. No, like they want to instill behaviors in you. And this is why I find it offensive, right? It doesn't matter what propaganda they put. If they were to put Christian messages, I would have found it just as offensive. Because their job is not to instill behaviors in me. It's not to try to use these subliminal tactics in order to, like, make me think that what they're doing is normalized. And by the way, it works. Like, for instance, body type A, body type B, pronouns, and all that stuff. You can notice how 4 years ago, there was, like, this gaming event called Game Dance Quick. Game Dance Quick was a tournament to show, like, how fast people can speedrun the games. And all of the presenters had pronouns in front of them. And like, at the time, that was, like, a brand new thing. Like, at the time, it was never been done before, right? Like, they broke the glass ceiling. And this was on Twitch, and everyone was mocking and ridiculing them. And the reason it became famous because they were banning so many people that they had, like, probably more people banned than the actual viewers in the chat, right? Because, like, at one point, if you have, like, 500 people watching and you ban 400, you end up with, like, 100 watching and 400 banned, right? But like, everyone was making fun of them. Everyone was mocking them, right? Now, fast forward to today, when you notice that every single video game has pronouns in it, even though the game itself doesn't use the pronouns, but they're there to remind you that, hey, it exists. When you have Heels versus Babyface making fun of it, everyone is now attacking Heels versus Babyface. So 4 years ago, they were attacking the people with the pronouns that were like, come on, it's ridiculous. Like, what are you doing? You know, it's like, do you think I don't know your Now, people are attacking Heels versus Babyface for doing literally the same of what people used to do 4 years ago. So, like, the subversion works, right? Like, the social engineering works, which is why they do it, which is why they invest money. But the thing is, like, I don't have to support it. Like, I don't care how popular it is. I don't care how many people love it. I don't care if people think it's okay. I don't have to support it with my money. Do it with your money if you want, if you think it's important, right? Give me the game for free. And I'll fucking play it. But do not ask me for money so that you can subvert me with my cash. Okay? I want to subvert you. How about that? Why can't I subvert them? Why can't I subvert BlackRock? Why do they have to be the subverters? Why can't I do the subverting? So yeah, it's pretty much what it is. The whole thing with the pronouns is fucking ridiculous. I am willing to bet that in 5 years you won't get to see them anymore. Like it's just like a fad. It's something that's happening now, but it's not going to last. It's not as popular as it seems. A lot of people like it because they want to fit in. Yeah, like this is something that I constantly said on my channel, and I believe it's 100% true. And this is due to my personal observance by like noticing how people speak in public and how they talk when you speak with them behind closed doors, especially other content creators and streamers. I will not give names, but I once spoke with a Twitch streamer that has quite a significant following. And this was like a behind the scene type of thing. And I legitimately asked him, like, dude, don't you get fed up with paying so much in taxes? Right? Like, cause like as a fellow content creator, right? Like we make YouTube or Twitch videos in your case. And because we don't have a lot of deductibles, right? Like you don't spend monthly cash on something. The taxes that we pay are ridiculously high. Doesn't it piss you off? Like, wouldn't you want less taxation? And he goes, yes. And why are you supporting left-leaning policies? Like, they constantly milk you of cash. Like, you're literally advocating for the government to take your money away. And he's like, you know what? I'm not really a leftist in real life, but I gotta say this because I'm on Twitch. Okay. Now you get to the bottom of it, right? Now you get to understand the situation. Like many leftists, they do not believe the stuff they are saying. They know it's false. They're not convinced. But they say the thing knowing that it's required in order to keep maintaining leftist friends. And I'm willing to bet that there are leftist circles. Like, imagine 10 leftists in the circle. And they literally all say the stuff that they don't believe in order to be accepted by the group. During the pandemic, this was more obvious than ever before, right? Like, you had people that one day they were stay home, stay safe. Literally the next day go out and protest. And you have to wonder, it's like, but how does this work? Like, how can they believe the same things? And the answer is they don't. Like, they themselves don't. But it's like, oh, why do I care? You know, how does it bother me? I just say the correct things. I just say the stuff that needs to be said. And then everyone accepts me, right? Cultists are more sincere than leftists. At least they believe in what they do. I don't know if the cultists believe in what they do either. Like, that's interesting. I've never met a cultist before. But, I'm pretty sure that even cultists, like, they have doubts. And they have, like, certain things that they don't believe 100%. But they say it because it requires to be said. It's part of, like, human nature. Like, the idea that you want to fit in. So, like, if you say something that you think is ridiculous, that no one else will support you, you probably don't say it. Hi, V. Hope your day is good. Leftism is a parasite. It's kind of like replacing... by the way, there was this statistic that came out recently, and it shows that the overwhelming amount of people that vote Democrat, like out of different groups of people, it was single women. So, like, when it came to everyone else, the percentage was in favor of Republicans, right? So, like, married men, single men, married women, single women. The first categories were kind of like 53% Republican, 52%. But, like, with single women, the percentage was astonishing. And the reason for it is quite simple. And it makes sense when you realize it. They're replacing the government with the father. So like, what is the father? Well, the father, according to the gender stereotype, is the protector of the family and is the provider of the family. The mother role is to nurture, to educate the children, to do, like, the menial house chores that require to be done. But, like, if there's a burglar coming in, it's the father that goes to defend the house, right? Like, he's not going to ask the woman, it's like, hey, can you go downstairs while I call 911, right? No, it's like the father. When it comes to the provider, it's also, like, the role of the man to provide. Like, there are divorces if the man loses his job. So, what happens if there is no father? And the answer is, well, the government becomes the father, right? Like, this is why they're anti-gun. It's like, you don't get to have a gun. The government has guns. The government will protect you. Welfare. The government provides. Like, you're literally married with the government. The problem is that the father does have an emotional connection with the wife. Like he actually loves her. There's, you know, like, feelings and uh, emotions that go in there. The government doesn't give a single fuck about you as a person. You don't give a shit. And not only that, but the father also has that, like, he's got duties, right? He's got the duty to protect and he's got the duty to provide, but he also has requirements. Meanwhile, the government has requirements as well, right? Keep voting Democrat. Support our hate speech laws. Support our... Who will protect me from the government? Yeah, like the government can protect you from the father. Like, if the father is abusive, if he comes home drunk and beats little Billy, you can call the cops. So the government can protect you from the father, but there's no one to protect you from the government. That is also an excellent point. The government will protect you unless the government is kind of busy or the person attacking. Well, no, like usually they will protect you. I mean, and if they fail, they at least create the illusion, right, that they're protecting you, so that criminals do not just operate willy-nilly. Unless it's a failed state. Like you can see what happens when the government doesn't exist. You can look at failed states and then, well... We used to have married with children. Now we have married with the government. Yeah. But this is why, like, all of those people were listening to what the Dr. Fauci was saying. It's like, oh, today Dr. Fauci says masks aren't good. If you guys remember at the beginning of the pandemic, he's actually on air saying that. And it's like, okay, masks aren't good. And everyone was parroting that. And then he was like, masks are really good. And everyone was like, well, okay, we need to mask up. And then he's like, double masking. And people were double masking. Like, that was a thing. It's so fucking bizarre to remember back in the day when there was like, okay, so today plastic straws are bad for the environment. We need to pass a legislation that everyone releases paper straws from now on. And McDonald's was still releasing paper straws while everyone was double masking. Makes perfect fucking sense. Since I heard about Sweet Baby, I'm feeling kind of disturbed about the name of this company. It sounds like a pedophile organization. They actually explained why they're calling themselves Sweet Baby. But it is like, yes, it's a very disgusting name. I would say that it's in line with progressive ideology where they're trying to appear as harmless as possible. Right? So like if you find a social justice activist on Twitter, they usually have like a picture of a cartoon character, like a Steven Universe, or they took a photo of themselves and they got an artist to draw like a cartoon version of themselves. It's kind of like the soy face individuals, you know, like the ones that are men and they're taking a picture with a kitten and they put the kitten on their profile because they want to appear as harmless as humanly possible. And it's like, why the fuck do you want to do that? It's like, well, normal people don't do that. Like, why are you going out of your way in order to appear harmless? It's so fucking bizarre, so weird. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just weird. It's creepy. I love the word that the left uses. Creepy. It is fucking creepy. Like, if you're a man and you're going out of your way to try to signal to other people that you're harmless, it's just weird. Like, you're not supposed to signal that you're harmful either. It's just be normal. Why can't you be normal? Just don't signal anything. Be normal. The fuck? Like, oh, look, I'm a cartoon character. Oh, look, I have a kitten. And by the way, like, these are some of the most aggressive people that you ever see. Like Sweet Baby, for instance, now has one of their employees going after a Steam curator. And the only thing that Steam curator does is it shows the games that Sweet Baby has worked on. Like, imagine the type of company which writes stories for games and wants to shut down people that exposes which games they worked on. Just, does it make any sense? Progressive nomenclature has a certain sort of flavor to it. Their insults too, like piss baby and shit. Yeah, it's just, again, I'm starting to think that the progressives, all of them, they share one brain cell amongst each other. And it's the same brain cell, so like the same ideas are spread amongst the group. They don't really have any individuality because that brain cell is incapable of producing something different. Like, it's kind of like, you know, it's the brain cell. It's got its information on it. And if you share it among different people, it's kind of like that Eastern European story with the three hags that share one eye. And they all use the eye in order to see, right? And they like sharing it with the mouth. So it's kind of like that with the progressives. It's just that it's one brain cell. There's not two, it's just one. And they share it among like the millions of them. Yeah, the three witches that shared the eye, the one eye. Yeah. We already gave that example. We worked on this game. Yeah. So by the way, the Steam curator actually expanded this list. Apparently, like some of the masterpieces that Sweet Baby worked on, I was unaware. They worked on Mortal Kombat 1. They worked on Forspoken. I didn't know they worked on Forspoken. Now it makes sense. Oh, Naruhodo intensifies. They worked on Forspoken, chat. Let's see, what else did they work? They work on Gotham Knights. Another modern Macbeth, I guess. It's a fantastic game. They worked on Suicide Squad. By the way, did they work on Alan Wake? I wouldn't be surprised. Starfield, obviously. I'm curious if they worked on Alan Wake or other company. Because the thing is, there's more companies than Sweet Baby, right? Like, Sweet Baby is just the one that we know. Because they're in the public eye and they're becoming a meme. Apparently, Asmongold talked about them. But there must be more. I don't think it's just Sweet Baby. I think there must be more companies. So like, obviously someone needs to be involved with the modern day Macbeth, which is Alan Wake too. But it would be funny if it's Sweet Baby. Oh, they did work on Alan Wake. See, it's getting to the point where I don't even need a Steam curator. I just look at the game and their story. And it's like, this has the stink of Sweet Baby on it. Like, it's so copy-paste. It's like, it's so predictable. Like, there are certain cliches, certain tropes. You know, like, there are some writers that can actually write properly, and, like, they can write 2 books, and you wouldn't know that it's written by the same guy. Like, maybe, you know, the writing style is the same, and maybe, like, but like, the story is so different. Like, usually a writer that makes horror, and it's, like, really good, and then it makes... Arnold Schwarzenegger is an example, right? He's not a writer, but he's an actor. So you have Arnold Schwarzenegger, like, play in action movies, and it looks believable, like, it's hilarious. And then he plays in comedies, and it just doesn't fucking make sense. It's like, why does it actually work? Like, he played in Kindergarten Cop. And he plays in Kindergarten Cop, and it's like, well, he's an action hero. Like, why is he so hilarious? Why is he so funny? It doesn't make sense. Usually, yeah, like usually the way I know that a game is made by Sweet Baby is because it's boring me to tears. Like, if I'm in the game 2 hours in and I'm yawning, and everything is like shit, cliche, boring, unrelatable to how human beings talk, oh, this is Sweet Baby. I see. Are they a Canadian company? I don't know. By the way, did you see the hate speech laws that Canada wants to pass? So apparently it's for protecting children, right? And I'm thinking, okay, so now in Canada, typing hate speech online is like sending child porn. No, you can go to prison if this bill passes. Like, it hasn't passed yet. But if it passes, like, that would be... And I ask people, it's like, can you please contradict me if I'm wrong? Can you tell me why is it that I am wrong? And they can't. Because it's literally true. Like, they would consider hate speech to be this level of offensive and harmful for society that it would be like CP. V, are you talking about me as a writer? Thanks. You did write some good stuff for me. I appreciate that. It can be applied retroactively. Yeah, that's... Well, the way they justify, like, applying it retroactively, right? So, let's say you said the N-word on the internet. When that law passes, you have the ability to delete the N-word, right? Like, that's their justification. This is how they're judging it. That if you... Like, they give you the opportunity to delete it. So, like, if you delete it before the police finds out that you said the N-word on the internet, then you're fine. But if you haven't deleted, like, it was your responsibility, right? So it's your responsibility to, like, delete everything that you said on the internet. Which obviously is ridiculous, because there are stuff that people said 12 years ago on some forum, and they even forgot it exists. Justin Trudeau is the perfect example, right? So, like, Justin Trudeau did blackface back in the day. Under the new hate speech law, he should go to prison. Like, doing blackface is hateful, right? So, like, he should be convicted under the new hate speech laws. I'm curious what will happen if some indie company just decided to not follow ESG. Just plainly ignores all these regulations. Not following ESG isn't, like, something shocking. Like the thing with ESG is this. If you want a loan, right? So, like, you want to make a video game. You need money in order to do so, right? So in order to get money, you need to make a loan. ESG loans are very profitable because, like, they don't have big returns. So, like, they're some of the best loans that you can access. And all you need to do is to get a consultant, right? So, like, if you're a company that doesn't care about ESG, then you just don't care about ESG. You don't get that loan, right? Like, you need to get your money somehow else, but you're not going to get it through ESG. And of course, there's other investors and stuff. Now the thing that is actually difficult for indie gamers is not the ESG, it's platforms, right? So, like, Steam, PayPal, all these other places. That, like, due to the industry that I'm working at right now, that I'm making my own video game, I have to be very careful with Steam, right? And what are their policies and what are their requirements. And some of them are very vague. Like, they don't let you have any hate speech, right? Which is fine. Like, okay, so, like, don't make a video game that has, like, hateful stuff in it, right? But then they're like, don't make video games that are shocking, like, no shocking content. And I'm making a horror game. Like, how do you want me to make it without shocking people? Like, what the fuck is that? Well, what does that even fucking mean? Can you give me examples? They can't. They don't. Now I think, like, they don't enforce the shocking thing, or maybe it's like, if it's a video game that's, like, going out of their way to shock people, but Postal is on Steam, right? And Postal is literally there in order to shock people. So right, like, it's very bizarre. It's very ambiguous. And this is, like, what indie games have to do. So like, even if you're, like, an indie game and you don't take ESG money and you don't care about ESG, you still at some level care about the other platforms. Tomb Raider is shocking. Like, the first Tomb Raider game where Lara gets, like, there's that scene where she gets impaled by spikes, right? Like, I remember, like, you're falling in the water, and you have to press left and right in order for her to, like, move left or move right to avoid certain spikes. And if she doesn't, then she gets impaled very brutally, and it shows her, like, on screen with, like, the spike getting into her mouth and coming out the back of her head. Like, very graphic, right? That's shocking, but, like, is that too much? Is that right? Sweet Baby isn't even the problem necessarily, since they're filling the demand that HR hags on Twitter are demanding. No, but, like, if Sweet Baby gets tainted and there's, like, a stink around them, then companies are less likely to hire them. And what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Postal is the game that you can use a cat as a silencer. They don't make games like that anymore, do they? That was actually hilarious. Yeah, now the thing with Steam is that it's going after visual novels, right? So, like, especially the anime type. Initially, it was Gabe saying, hey, you know, like, if your content is legal, just have it on our platform and it's fine. Okay, right? So people started uploading video games and they were importing stuff from Japan. But then they were like, okay, no lolly. No lolly. Like we're not going to publish video games that have lollies in it. If it's, you know, a hentai game. If it's not a hentai game, it's fine. But, like, if it's a hentai game, no lolly. Okay. You know, like people understood. Okay, so no prepubescent kids. Like, no one wants to defend that. All right. Then they expand and they're like, no teenagers either. It has to be 18, right? So, like, if the character is 17, that's not allowed now. if it's a hentai game, all characters have to be over 18. And people are like, okay, well, I mean, like, we're not going to defend that type of stuff. It's like, it's fine. Then they went, well, actually, even if it's not hentai, like, even if it's just like lewd stuff, if it's like sexual jokes and stuff, we don't allow it either. So, like, if the characters are under 18, no fan service. Now this is ambiguous as fuck, because, like, some games are allowed, some aren't. I mean, Life is Strange. Life is Strange actually does have the story with a pedophile that's in a school, right? And he's the killer. But for some reason that's allowed. Other visual novels that, again, don't have any sex in it, but they're Japanese, they're not allowed. So it's like massive confusion. Up to the interpretation of the moderator. There's developers that spent like $20,000, $30,000 on a video game and they get banned. And then the ban expands, right? So they will say, okay, now it's, even if they're adult, like even if all of the characters are 18 plus, if they're in a school setting, so like 12th grade, and everyone is adult, no, we still don't allow it. And then the definition expands even further. And it's like, okay, even if they're not in a school setting, even if they don't wear any school uniform, even if they're all 18 plus, if they look as if they're 17, if at any point they look underage, if the voice actor is a little bit too squeaky, and I'm like, oh fuck, I mean, this is, and it only targets anime games, right? Yeah, but the point is, like, the definition is constantly expanding, right? Like it started from someplace where most people agreed, and now it just keeps expanding more and more and more and more. And I think, like, the purpose is to make it so that you don't have, like, indie games competing with AAA when it comes to sexuality. Like I'm pretty sure a game like Nikke, if it was like an indie game, right? So let's say Nikke, which is like this multi-billion-dollar phenomenon on the phone apps. If it was made today by an indie company and they try to put it on Steam, they're in a gray area. Like, unironically, they can get banned. They have a couple of characters there that look as if they're 17, 16, and the way they're dressed is provocatively. There's no sex in Nikke, right? It's on the phone games. So to go back to your question, like, what happens if an indie company doesn't follow ESG? They still need to follow what the platforms are saying. And what the platforms are saying, like, they're kind of pushing you towards the ESG every single day. They're just restricting more and more of the stuff that you're allowed to do. And they're doing it slowly and incrementally. Like, they're tightening the noose. Very, very slowly. In the Canadian bill, they don't need proof. Oh, I haven't read all of the golden wisdom, but I'm pretty sure that you're right. They don't really give you, like, terms and updates. Like, what they do is they ban someone, and then everyone tries to figure out, it's like, okay, why did they get banned? Like, what did they do? Like, can we figure it out? And then people, like, they get afraid of making new games because it's like, well, it's so risky, isn't it? Like, you can make a game that's fine, and then you find out, oh wait, actually, this is a problem. There are no slippery slopes in a free dive, I guess. Nikke has a loli character. Yeah, no, like the loli characters, again, like in non-sexual settings, just like normal video games, or like Nikke, or Genshin Impact, Dragon May, like stuff that even my grandmother wouldn't have an issue with it. Like, God rest her soul, my mom wouldn't have an issue with it. Now all of a sudden they're actually dangerous and problematic. And it's like, okay, I mean, and their argument is like, well, can you defend it? Can you defend it? And I'm like, okay, but like a slasher movie, right? An American slasher movie where students get killed by a serial killer. Can you defend that? Like, why would you watch that? Why are you into that? Why do you want to see Jason Voorhees? What do you get out of it? Defend it. Can you defend enjoying a serial killer chasing some minors in a summer camp with a knife? No, you can't, right? Because, like, that's entertainment. It's fiction. Like, your only defense is that it's fiction. And, like, Because seriously, like this is what my parents used to say. It's like, why do you watch these movies? Because this is what triggers me. It reminds me of my childhood. Why do you watch these movies? Like, why do you enjoy? Because I remember, like, my mom once watched Jason Voorhees, Nightmare on Elm Street, right? And she was like just really disturbed by it. And she was like, why do you like this? Why do you watch this? Right? And she asked me to justify why I like it. And I was like, well, I like it because it gives me like an adrenaline boost that I want to see the victim survive. And it's like, but don't you think it's going to turn you into a psychopath? Like, if you like this, like, once you actually start killing kittens and shit, it's like, it's the same stuff. It's literally the same stuff. Yeah, like, stuff is okay, swimsuits are evil. The new morality, but like the morality is even worse, right? Like the morality in the West right now is basically saying that if you like, okay, so if you like a video game, they will say that you're a coomer, that you're a pervert, right? Now, back in my day, in order to reach the accomplishment of being renowned as a pervert, right, in order to get the medal of perversion, you actually had to spend some money on a dakimakura, on a fursuit. Like it required some effort. Nowadays, kids get everything for free. It's like you like to watch Nier Automata, and all of a sudden you're a pervert just because like you're a straight man enjoying seeing a beautiful woman in a dress, right, in a goth outfit, right, like that. That is enough to make you a pervert now. In my time, I had to struggle. I had to actually join the furry community. I had to get, you know, you had to actually buy a fursuit. It was difficult. It was challenging. Nowadays, these kids, they get it for free. So anyway, right, like you're a pervert if you like that. And they will say, why don't you go watch porn? So in other words, instead of like actually watching something fictional that doesn't hurt anyone, no, you need to actually support the porn industry that actually oppresses women, because they believe that sex work is real work, and actually, like, if you have a daughter and she goes on OnlyFans or something, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, there's absolutely nothing. Instead, it should be encouraged. The school system should encourage women to pursue that career, right? Like, it's absolutely maddening. I don't, like, at least the Christians back in the day, and my parents that hated violence in fiction, at least they could somehow have an argument. Like, their argument was, first of all, like, there were some cases where kids on the playground, like, reproduced the stuff they saw in cartoons and ended up hurt, right? So, like, their concern was, like, kids, because they're kind of dumb, they may see, like, a violent cartoon and reproduce that. So that was, like, the first concern. The second concern was that kids were crying at night because, like, they watched a horror movie and now they couldn't sleep. And the parents couldn't sleep either. So, like, that's another thing. And finally, the last concern was that, you know, it's like, okay, well, it desensitizes people to violence. Not, like, most of them weren't true. But, like, at least the concerns were logical, and they followed some sort of consistency, right? Like they wouldn't say, hey, why are you watching this video for gore? If you want to see gore, go on LiveLink. You know, like, watch real footage. You know, watch some war thing. They didn't say that, because that wouldn't make fucking sense. That's what happens when something becomes mainstream. Seriously, anybody who was into fanfiction has seen this for years. You can barely find a fanfic these days that isn't promoting LGBT and politics. See, I didn't know that, but like, no, you're kind of right, because like, I remember when I was in school, I used to like heavy metal. And when I liked heavy metal, it was like a very niche group of people that enjoyed it. We used to get bullied a lot by the other kids that listened to proper music, which was kind of like hip-hop and shit at the time. But anyway, right, so all of a sudden, heavy metal becomes popular, and you notice that the music gets cringe, and now it's cringe to like heavy metal because everyone likes it. And I'm like, oh, fucking hell. You know, you're absolutely right. Centrists only follow the winner. Why do you think the Overtone window shifted so far to the left? Perverts used to have standards back in my day. It's not that standards. Like, in order to become a pervert, you actually had to do some perversions. You know, like buy a dakimakura, have like those naked figurines, The bare minimum to be a pervert, the bare minimum was to buy a mouse pad with tits. Like that was like the minimum step required to be called a pervert. But like a man that just liked to oogle at a woman, no one called that perversion, you know? And I think maybe it's like people were more honest back then because like they knew it's like, well, if I call him a pervert for like watching a poster of a woman, I mean I too watch posters of women. It's fine. If you weren't bullied for something, it wasn't your hobby. Yeah, that's a good point, right? Because they will usually say, it's like, how can women enjoy a hobby if men are bullying them out of it? Which is false. Like, that never happens. But, like, even if that was somehow true, if you genuinely like something, if you're unironically passionate about something, no one can tell you otherwise. Like, if you want to join, I don't know, med school, you really want to do that, it doesn't matter what your parents say, it doesn't matter how many people dissuade you. Like, for instance, when I wanted to do med school, most people in my life were dissuading me. So for those of you who don't know, I finished law school first, right? And in Romania, the first university that you do is paid by the government if you have high grades. The second one that you do, you have to pay for yourself. So the problem was like, by the time I finished law school, I was already older. And I also waited like 2 years before between the universities, and I was like, okay, I want to do med school. And everyone was like, dude, first of all, like, you're already older, right? So, like, by the time you're going to finish, you're going to be in your 30s. Like, that's going to be very difficult for you to keep up. You're already older, so it's going to be more difficult to remember information, memorize stuff. And finally, it's expensive, right? Like, you're going to have to pay for it. Like, how are you going to do? So I got ambitious. That's what I did. I got ambitious, and I did it. I got a job. I worked for 2 years, and I managed to save money. And I paid for, like, the first 2 years of university. So, like, you can do something regardless of how many people around you tell you that, no, you shouldn't. Like, if you're genuinely passionate about something, if you're genuinely into something, like a hobby, there can be an army of people that tell you not to. It doesn't fucking matter. To paraphrase Jordan Peterson, you can't good and harmless because you lack power. You are too impotent, but people confuse the two. I think like what you're trying to say is that weak people cannot be kind. I think like this is what, like the first time that I heard it, it's like, what the fuck, that doesn't sound right. But then you realize what they're trying to say. If you're weak, your only choice is to be kind, because you don't want to piss people off, right? Because you're weak. Like you got no way of defending yourself. So like being kind is like a survival mechanism. Like you're nice to the school bully. Why? Because he's stronger than you. So you don't want to piss him off. So you're always nice. Like even if you hate the school bully, even if you despise his guts, you're going to be nicer to him just because you know he can beat your ass. Right? Kind of like Rags in Dungeons and Dragons, thanking for the thief that mugged him. It's like that. However, if you're strong, then you actually can choose to be nice. So like a strong person has the choice, the luxury, between being an asshole and being nice. And you know that when a strong person is nice, it's almost always because they choose to be nice. I get to see America's Outlier Daki Bakura. It looks great. Too bad I can't show it on YouTube. V, speaking of Daki Bakura, check your Discord. Yeah, I can't show that on YouTube. Puritanical standards, what can I say? No morality in being weak. There is such a thing, though, as the morality of the weak. It's called slave morality by Nietzsche. The slave morality is when many weak people gather together and they become strong by being many. And they usually promote the stuff that wokeness promotes. Like, wokeness is slave morality. Yeah, I mean, it's just human nature. No, I wasn't the school bully, actually. I didn't have, like, a puberty that allowed me to grow twice as big and twice as strong as everyone else. I was actually quite the underdog, I would say. But I was good at knowing how to speak with people and how to manipulate the school bully into doing my bidding. Usually just by paying him. Sorry about that. Loser morality or the spiteful mutants. I didn't know it's called like that. Speaking of mutants, I'm going to have to make a video about the X-Men. Apparently, like I genuinely believed it myself when a lot of the people in the press were saying that X-Men is actually about civil rights. And I never understood, like, how the fuck is X-Men about civil rights? Like, in order to, like, have a conversation about civil rights, you would require that both people are the same. But with X-Men, you have individuals that are capable of leveling cities. Of course they're dangerous. Like, of course that if you had mutants in the real world, like people that are having magical abilities, of course you would have, like the people without magical abilities would create safety mechanisms to defend themselves, right? Like, it makes fucking sense. Some and by the way, like, not all mutants are evil, but like some of them don't even have control of their power. Like, there was a mutant which killed everyone around him in I think like a 2-kilometer radius. So, like, everyone that just got close to him died, whether he wanted to or not. It's like he would just walk through the city, and he would just find dead people everywhere. And eventually, like, Wolverine comes up and kills that guy, right? And he actually explains it to him, and the guy is, like, actually crying, but he understands. So, it's not like civil right, because at that point, you do not have, like, equality, you know, like, all men are created equal. Well, if you actually were to have people like in the X-Men, then obviously all men are created equal doesn't apply, because, like, these individuals have superpower, they can fly, they can teleport, they're not equal. So anyway, it's not about civil rights. I spoke with one of their creators. It's about puberty, apparently. That's what they were going with. Like, they were writing about puberty. So where did they come up with the human rights? I don't know. The Spider-Man is also about puberty, right? Like, with great strength comes great responsibility. The thing with the X-Men, though, like, it's quite an interesting experiment, like how it would end up, because any kid could get mutant abilities, right? So, like, you can have a child that all of a sudden you find out that they're flying. So if you're, like, too hard on the anti-mutant stance, if you're like, oh, let's round them all up and put them into camps, you can end up with a kid that's a mutant. So that was, like, interesting. But it's actually weird that they never brought that argument in the comic books. It's like, well, yeah, like, you're against mutants, but, like, your kid can be a mutant, you know? Maybe the fireworks girl, but a lot of mutants do get their power when they are at puberty. Yeah, like, that's the thing. It was, they don't think that deeply. Yeah, no, they don't. I think the issue came up in the animated series once when Jean Grey was playing basketball, and the normal players accused her of using her psychic powers to make a shot at basketball. Oh my fucking god, they made that about transgender. Do you know that? Like, they made that about transgender issues? But the thing is that, like, her concern was legit. Sorry, their concern was legit. Like, if you have abilities, like, you have psychic powers which can influence people, and no one can tell, right? Like it doesn't have any sort of tell. It doesn't have, like, it doesn't make the air vibrate. It doesn't make any sound. Like, you can just think about it and people do what you think, right? So, like, for instance, if someone is passing, you make them doubt themselves for, like, 2 seconds, which is enough for you to take the ball away. In that situation, yeah, like having mutants play with non-mutants would be, but even, like, mutants amongst themselves would be a problem. Like, if you were to have, like, mutants play amongst themselves, okay, like, one has psychic abilities, the other one is faster than the speed of light, so he is faster than the psyker can think. There's not even a competition. It's not even fair. So yeah, no, none of the things make sense. It's like, what does this have to do with trans issues? There was like another one in Sabrina. If you guys watch Sabrina, the Netflix show, they did have like a trans person on the team, and the only reason that they got in is because Sabrina held them. And I'm like, okay, if you actually watch the show, the trans person was like a twink, like someone half your size. I think it was, yeah, it was like a woman transitioning to a man, and she wanted to be on the male team. And obviously, like, everyone laughed, but like Sabrina uses magic in order to give them an advantage at winning the competition and getting on the team. And I'm like, okay, well, you probably just got that person in a hospital, because like, looking at the difference, and I'm not even talking about like anything else, just like the size difference that they portrayed in the show between the sport jocks and this trans person. Like again, this trans person was half the size of the jocks. It's not even about like male or female. Like, anyone could get seriously injured like that. If you're like, like, body mass is important, right? Like, weight category is a thing. If you get injured by someone twice your size, like you get knocked down or something, like, you can end up in a hospital or in a coma. What message were they sending? Like, what exactly were they trying to say is very interesting. Yeah, the Sabrina the Teenage Witch, yes. Yeah, I mean, like again, the reason that society wouldn't allow this person to get into the male basketball team was for their own safety. And the show, like, even acknowledges that, because Sabrina has to use magic in order to, like, buff the person up until they get into the team. But, like, after that, Sabrina doesn't use magic anymore. And I'm like, okay, but, like, at that point, when they don't have their advantage, they're going to get demolished. Like, just absolutely BTFO'd. No, you shouldn't play in the NFL. That was a show for teenage girls. I grew up with Sabrina. It was on national television. It was one of the like, back when I grew up, I didn't have VCRs. I didn't have like the internet. So you watched what was on TV. And Sabrina was kind of cool. Like, it had a talking cat, and it had like a witch, and it was charming. So I wanted to see that. But after that, it was just, yeah, the Netflix adaptation. We didn't have much in Europe. Watch Dragon Ball Z in French. I watched Dragon Ball Z in German. It was such a troll. Like, I don't know what happened. I think Cartoon Network like didn't have the rights for Toonami for Europe. And on Cartoon Network, like, they would hype Dragon Ball Z, right? And it's always like, oh, this night at 9 p.m., Dragon Ball Z, Toonami. And just as it was about to start, they would cut to cartoons instead. And I think it was because they didn't have like the commercial rights for anime in Europe. So you had like all this cool shit anime that you would see, like Toonami, and it's like every single fucking time, like Toonami is about to start in 5 minutes, and you would be hyped. And then like 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute, and then it would be cartoons. My god, I hated that. In Greece, we had Sailor Moon. Sailor Moon was really popular in Romania, even among the boys. Like, you actually had boys in school, because we did, like, most kids play make-believe, right? And it was, like, boys screaming, like, magical power, make up, and they faked the dance and shit. That's how I grew up. I never did the dance, though. I never used the magical power makeup. But, like, everyone wanted to have a talking cat. Yeah. Why did Overtone window shift for far to the left? Money! Money! It's not like, a lot of people try to rationalize it, and they're like, oh, the Overtone window shifted far to the left because, such and such, because it's almost like they believe that people were reasoned in believing in woke ideology. The reality is like most people don't believe in woke ideology. Even companies that push it don't. There's two reasons why the woke managed to win. Number one is the long march through the academia. It is well documented and described, okay? So you had woke individuals pretending to be normal. They would get positions in academia, they would get tenure, and once they got in a position of power, they stopped promoting anyone else that wasn't woke. So they would only promote woke people, and they would make life miserable for non-woke people. And they did so over a course of decades. And once they got over in the academia, they started indoctrinating students. They started doing their best in order to turn students activists so that they do the same to companies, right? And then it's money. Like government likes woke stuff because woke people love big government. So like if you're a politician, you that wants more power, you don't want the libertarian ideology to prosper. You don't want you want people that believe, the government needs to protect me. The government needs to be more powerful, right? Like that's what they want. And finally, corporations. Like the best employee isn't the married man, isn't the single man, is the divorced man. Because if you're single, it means that you got a lot of time, you don't need as much cash, it's not easy to motivate you. If you're married, you do have motivation because you need to get home and give your salary to make sure that your kids don't starve. But at the same time, you don't spend extra hours because you have a nagging wife at home. Right? Like Skyler from Breaking Bad. That's why she managed to trigger so many people. So what is like the middle ground? The middle ground is the man that's divorced. He's already very demoralized. He's got children to take care of, but he doesn't have the nagging wife at home. So like this is why companies support stuff as feminism. Now I'll tell you something else. I actually spoke with a person from HR and they told me something very interesting. The reason companies support trans issues is because they made studies and they found out, and this is like what almost all the studies are saying, employees are less likely to ask for a raise if they champion LGBT rights. So what I mean by this is like if the company does a big thing, like we need to go out, Pride March, do activism, blah, blah, blah. The employees, they think that they accomplished something, right? So it's less likely that they unionize and ask for raises or ask for changes at the company because like they're focused on making changes in the world rather than making changes on the things that they could affect, which is the company. So imagine like the desire of change is like a lightning bolt, right? You can't stop the lightning. It exists. So by doing the LGBT issues or like whatever woke ideology issues they have, it's like putting a lightning rod to make the change go there. So like the employees, they're trying to change society, but they're not trying to change the company they're working at because they view that the company is on their side. I am the all-eye-seeing human being. Well, thank you for being a member for 4 months, Birdflu. Sorry to be that guy. Jan's psychic abilities can be physical through apparition, basically when she goes Phoenix and Mrs. Fantastic force field and barriers. Is that a thing though? Like if I'm sitting next to you, right, and Jean is manipulating you, would I be able to see it? I think like in the movies you can't. Maybe like it depends on the adaptation, right? But I think like you can't really see it. Surely at certain point it's cheaper to just give the raise. No, not really. If you have like people unionizing in your company and they all want raises and stuff, no, it's not cheaper to give them a raise. But like think about it this way, like why is it that companies support abortion? Like when they made it difficult in some states to get an abortion, there were companies that immediately, like when Roe v. Wade was repealed, there were companies that immediately came out and they said, oh, you know what? If you want to get an abortion, we're going to pay you so you can go to another state and get it. And the reason for that is because they don't want to pay child support. They don't want to have like their employees take 1 year off. That's why. The money is from ESG. I see. Yeah, diversity helped divide the workforce. I mean, this was actually leaked. It was Whole Foods. I think it's like an Amazon subsidiary. They basically said that they had like a hot map to see which of their places are more likely to unionize, and they considered diversity to be like one of the indicators. So the more diverse a place was, the less likely it was that they would unionize. Again, like the reasoning is that John and Juan, they get along just fine at the workplace. Like they got no beef with each other until the diversity lady tells, hey, Juan, you're Latinx. And by the way, your colleague came up with the word. Anyway, right. Thank you guys for watching. I need to go and make my video for my other channel now. I appreciate the super chats. And I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.